Florida's beach towns spend a fortune on postcard photography to make sure you never see what's actually happening past the lifeguard chair. Today I'm ranking the 13 most hated beaches in the Sunshine State. Not the top beaches to visit listicles you've seen 100 times. These are the beaches where sharks bite more people per square mile than almost anywhere else on Earth. Where a hurricane erased an entire beachfront district in one night, where spring break got so violent the city itself pulled the plug, and where the sand you're sunbathing on might be sitting next to raw sewage the same week. Number 5 on this list is a beach that's been crowned the single best beach in America, more than once. And I promise, by the time I explain why it's hated, you'll never look at that ranking the same way again. If this video hits 50,000 likes, I'm doing a part 2, and Florida's coastline genuinely has enough material for 5 more of these. Let's count it down. Number 13, Jacksonville Beach. When people picture Jacksonville Beach, they picture surfers and a pier at sunrise. What they don't picture is the health department's beach warning system, which flags stretches of this coastline for high bacteria levels dozens of times a year. Heavy rain washes stormwater and sewage overflow straight into the ocean, and lifeguards have had to post no swimming signs on the exact weekends the beach is most crowded. Add in Duval County's reputation for some of the more frequent shark encounters on the East Coast, and you've got a beach where the biggest threat isn't visible until you're already in the water. Number 12, Pensacola Beach. Pensacola Beach markets itself as the crown jewel of the Panhandle. White sand so fine it squeaks under your feet. But in 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill sent crude oil and tar balls washing ashore for months, coating that famous sand in a black, sticky residue that took years of cleanup crews to fully remove. Even now, storms occasionally churn up buried tar mats from the seafloor and deposit them right back on the beach. Nothing ruins a barefoot walk on paradise quite like stepping on a decade-old oil spill. Number 11, Hollywood Beach. The Hollywood Broadwalk is supposed to be Florida's answer to a European beach promenade. Bikes, cafes, ocean views for 2.5 miles. In July 2023, gunfire broke out along that same Broadwalk on a packed summer night, injuring 9 people, including children, in a crowd that had nowhere to run but into the ocean or into each other. It's the kind of moment that turns a postcard boardwalk into a place people quietly stop recommending to their families, no matter how nice the sunset still looks. Number 10, Daytona Beach. Daytona is one of the only beaches left in America where you can legally drive your car directly onto the sand. For decades, that's been marketed as a novelty. In practice, it means beachgoers are sunbathing and building sandcastles feet away from moving vehicles, and pedestrians have been struck and killed on the sand itself, not the road. Lifeguards here spend as much time watching for cars as they do watching for riptides, which is not exactly the relaxing beach day the brochures are selling. Number 9, Panama City Beach. Panama City Beach used to be the Panhandle's spring break capital, and for years that was a point of pride. Then the parties turned into shootings, stampedes, and viral videos of assaults happening in broad daylight on the sand. It got bad enough that in 2023 the city council formally ended spring break as an event, banning alcohol on the beach during peak weeks and closing bars early, essentially telling an entire generation of college students the party was over for good. Number 8, South Beach, Miami. South Beach is arguably the most photographed stretch of sand in Florida, and for a few weeks every spring it turns into a different city entirely. From 2021 through 2023, spring break crowds grew so large and so violent that Miami Beach imposed emergency curfews, shut down its own causeways, and brought in the National Guard just to keep control of a beach that's supposed to be a luxury vacation destination. When your postcard beach needs a curfew and armored vehicles, the postcard stops telling the whole story. Number 7, Fort Myers Beach. I drove through Fort Myers Beach not long after Hurricane Ian made landfall in 2022, and Beach Town barely applied anymore. The storm surge wiped out entire blocks of the Times Square district, the pier, and hundreds of homes and businesses in a matter of hours. Years later, plenty of that stretch is still empty, lots and slabs where buildings used to stand. It's a beach that Florida vacation guides still list, quietly leaving out how much of it simply isn't there anymore. If you're learning things about Florida beaches you never wanted to know, hit that subscribe button. I cover the best and worst places in America every single week, and this list still has its worst chapters left. Number 6, New Smyrna Beach. New Smyrna Beach has an actual official nickname, the shark bite capital of the world. The combination of the inlet, the bait fish, and the sheer number of surfers in the water gives this small stretch of coastline more recorded shark encounters per square mile than almost anywhere else on the planet. Locals will tell you it's mostly harmless nips, not attacks, and statistically, they're right. That's a hard sell, though, to the tourists standing waist deep in the water who just found out the beach they picked has a shark nickname at all. Number 5. Siesta Key Beach. Here's the one I promised would shock you. Siesta Key has been ranked the #1 beach in the entire United States by major travel rankings. More than once, thanks to sand so fine and so white it's basically pulverized quartz that stays cool under your feet in July. That's the myth everyone knows. Here's what they don't put in the brochure. Red tide, a toxic algae bloom that periodically kills off massive amounts of marine life along this exact coastline, has washed dead fish onto that #1 sand by the truckload, closing the beach and making the air itself hard to breathe for anyone with asthma. The same beach getting crowned Best in America has in the same decade been unswimmable for weeks at a time because of a bloom nobody can fully control. America's favorite beach has a chemistry problem, and no ranking mentions it. Number 4. Clearwater Beach. Clearwater sits right alongside Siesta Key on those same Best Beach in America lists, and it has the exact same hidden problem. In 2021, a red tide bloom along this coastline got so severe that dead fish piled up on the sand faster than cleanup crews could clear them, and the smell alone shut down beachfront restaurants for weeks. Add in some of the highest beachfront hotel prices in the state, and traffic that can take an hour to move a mile in season, and paradise starts to feel like a very expensive, very smelly parking lot. Number 3. Cocoa Beach. Cocoa Beach built its whole identity around being the Space Coast, close enough to watch rocket launches from the sand. The problem is the beach gets shut down entirely during certain launches for safety, sometimes with almost no warning, ruining vacations booked months in advance. And after heavy storms, stormwater and sewage systems here have overflowed straight into the surf, prompting swim advisories on a beach whose entire marketing pitch is "come watch rockets from the water." Number 2. Smothers Beach, Key West. Smothers Beach is the postcard shot of the Keys. Palm trees, turquoise water, the whole fantasy. What the postcard leaves out is sargassum, a thick brown seaweed that's been washing ashore in massive, rotting mats in recent years, some stretches piling up knee-deep and smelling like sulfur as it decomposes in the Florida sun. Tourists show up expecting the turquoise water from Instagram, and instead spend their vacation stepping over a brown, stinking seaweed wall that cleanup crews can't clear fast enough. Number 1. Naples and Vanderbilt Beach. Naples is one of the wealthiest beach towns in the entire country. Multi-million-dollar homes lining a coastline built entirely around the idea that money buys you clean, perfect water. And yet Naples has repeatedly suffered some of the worst red tide events in the state. Dead fish and marine life washing up by the ton, toxic air forcing residents indoors, and tourism collapsing during the peak bloom years despite the town's best efforts to spray, rake, and hide the evidence before guests arrive. It is the most expensive proof in Florida that no amount of money buys you control over what the ocean decides to do. A beach built entirely on the promise of perfection, undone every few years by something nobody can charge enough to fix. That's the list. 13 beaches in Florida that earned their spot for very different reasons. If you want more honest breakdowns like this, the real stories behind the postcard, subscribe and hit that bell. I'll see you in the next one.